So My Hero Academia has a lot of interesting characters, right? But not all of them are in the My Hero 1 Justice series. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing another episode of the How They Can Work series. In this series, we look at characters that are not My Hero 1 Justice 2, and we try to break them down to create movesets for them, so hopefully one day they will become a playable character. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Present Mike. He's a really requested character in the community. Like, a lot of people want him, and I can understand why, because he's a pretty cool character. He's already kind of in the game already, at least his voice is, because he does like the voiceover for like the intro of the game, like when the match begins and stuff, when the match ends, when you do a plus ultra attack, when you're in the options menu, stuff like that. Like he already kind of has his voice in the game, but I think we need a little more than his voice. I feel like we need the actual character because he's a pretty cool character and a really cool UA teacher. Like I feel like he would work really well in the game, especially with his quirk. Like he could really have like an interesting moveset. So in the My Hero 1's Justice series, each character usually has a normal attack, a red attack or an unblockable, a yellow attack or an armor attack, and they also have a quirk 1, a side quirk 1, a quirk 2, and a side quirk 2, and they also have a plus ultra level 1, 2, and 3. But in this series, we don't look at the normal attack because it's usually just the same punch or kick, and we don't look at the plus ultra level 3 because it's just 3 plus ultra level 1s combined into one big attack. So we only look at the unique things in this series. So yeah, that's how the series works. So let's just dive into this moveset. So Present Mike's quirk is called Voice, and it allows him to kind of yell really loudly, like to the point where it kind of like shatters people's ears. Like it's a pretty impressive quirk, and that may not sound that interesting because, you know, Jiro's in the game. She already has like a sound related kind of like ability, but you can really make it different from Jiro. Like it's not the same thing. Like Jiro's quirk and Present Mike's quirk are two different things. So I feel like you can really make an interesting moveset with his quirk, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's start off with his quirk 1. So for his quirk 1, I have it labeled Stunning Yell. This is where he would yell, which would cause the opponent to cover their ears and would stun them. The yell would be a medium-sized, medium-ranged attack, and you can move the control stick to angle the yell the way you want it. So it's kind of like a sound blast that comes from the character, and you can use your control stick to like angle it the way you want. So you can angle it up, you can angle it to the left or the right, and if you're in the air, you can angle it down. And basically, it would kind of act like a projectile, kind of, but not really. It's kind of like an extension of like Present Mike. So you can't really move while you're doing this attack. But if it lands, then it causes the opponent to get stunned because they'll cover their ears because it's shattering their eardrums. And basically, it'd be a good move to kind of get like an opening for a combo, but it leaves you open because, again, it's not a projectile. It's a long-ranged attack, but it's not a projectile. So you're kind of like standing there yelling. So if they get around it, they can punish you for it. So I think that'd be a pretty cool ability because it allows them to start combos pretty easily, but also it can be punished. And moving on to his side quirk 1, I have it labeled Dance Off. This is where he does different dance moves which would act as attacks, and basically it would be just a bunch of different punches and kicks, but they would look like dance moves. And this would be a good way to extend combos because he attacks multiple times. But what makes this move interesting is, depending on which way you press the control stick to activate the quirk special, he would finish off with a different dance move. So if you press up on the control stick, he would end with an uppercut, which would launch them into the air. If you press left or right on the control stick, he would finish off with a punch. And if you press down on the control stick, he would throw them into the ground, which would be a good way to finish off a combo because that one does more damage, but it can't be followed up after, so you can't extend the combo. But basically, I think this would be pretty interesting because depending on which way you press the control stick, he ends off with a different dance move, so that can really add some different variety in your combos, and I think that'd be pretty cool to see because also, it's dancing. Like, that's something Present Mike likes to do. Like, imagine him dancing on the battlefield, but it looks like dance moves, but they're punches and like kicks and stuff, so it's like actual attacks, but he's like dancing, and I feel like that would really fit the character, and I think it'd be pretty interesting because depending on which way you press the control stick, he finishes off the quirk special in different ways, so I think that overall makes it an interesting quirk special. And for his quirk 2, I have it labeled Knockback Scream. This is another type of yell he has, but instead of stunning the opponent, he would knock the opponent away. But not only the opponent, he can also knock away assist and projectiles as well. It's a medium range, medium sized kind of like ranged ability, so while you're doing this attack, you're stationary, so you can be easily punished, but you can control where you fire this kind of like ranged ability, because with your control stick you can move it left or right or up and down. If you're in the air, you can actually move it down and kind of hit them below you, but you know, obviously if you're on the ground you can't really angle it down, but you get the point. You can angle this attack, but again, if the opponent can avoid it and get around, they can punish you really easily, because again, you're stationary, it's not a projectile, just like the other yell. But again, instead of stunning the opponent, he would knock them away, and also their projectiles and their assist, which would make it a really defensive move. And the reason why I wanted to add this into his moveset is because, well, A, we know he can knock the opponents away with his yell, because it's not all just stun based. Like, we've seen him knock kind of like villains away with his quirk, but also it gives him more different kind of like variety in his moveset. So instead of making him just kind of like a stun kind of like attack based character, he also has some defensive capabilities as well, so he can actually defend himself against assist and projectiles. And honestly, it can be an offense move, because if you're near a wall, he can knock them into the wall, which would cause a wall splatter. So it can be used for offense as well, but it doesn't do a lot of damage by itself. So again, it's more used for defense, but you can use it for offense if you want. I think this move would be pretty cool, because with Present Mike, his quirk is called Voice, you know, and you would think he would have more sound-based attacks, and with this move he would have two, but they're very different from each other. One's more offensive-based, while the other one is more defensive-based, and it gives him more variety in his moveset. So that's why I think this quirk special is really cool and interesting, because again, it gives him more kind of like play styles, more variety, but also it allows us to see his quirk more in action. So I think that's why I think this move is really cool. So for his side quirk 2, I have it labeled Presentation Kick. This is where he kicks the opponent, and basically on the ground it would be a good way to end a combo, because you can't follow up after it, because it would launch the opponent too far away, so you can't really follow up with, you know, a combo, but it would do good damage. But in the air, he would spike them to the ground, which would cause a bounce, so you can actually follow up with the combo if he's in the air. And basically, this quirk special is a reference to his presentation during the entrance exam, when he's seen kicking one of the training robots, and that's where I got this idea from. It would give him more variety in his combos, because again, if you're on the ground, it'd be a good way to end a combo, but in the air, you can actually continue it, because he would spike them to the ground, which would cause a bounce. So again, more variety in his moveset would be pretty cool, you know, with his combos and stuff, because there are different ways you can do combos with this character, and also more ways to extend the actual combo itself to get more damage. And overall, I think this move would be pretty interesting, because again, it's a reference to the series, but also a good way to do damage. And moving on to his red and yellow attack. For his red attack, I have it where he strikes his pose, lifting his arm into the air and hitting the opponent. And for his yellow attack, I have it where he does a wind up punch. So basically he would wind up his arm and then punch the opponent. I really like both of these attacks as well, because they're very expressive, and I feel like he's a very expressive kind of guy. Like, he likes to dance and show off his expressions and stuff, and I feel like both of these moves kind of like capture his character, and I really like them because, you know, again, it shows off more of his character, and both of them are pretty unique, and I really feel like they would be a pretty cool animation to see in the game. And for his level 1, I have it where he kind of like yells really loudly, and basically it's a large range attack. So again, he's stationary, but if you get caught in this attack, you take the level 1 damage. But if you actually avoid it, but if you're anywhere near it, then basically you would get stunned, because the opponent would cover their ears if they're anywhere near it but not directly in the attack. So basically you have two utilities with it. So if you hit it and land it, you get the level 1 damage, but if you kind of like miss it but they're not completely away from it, then they get stunned, which means after you're done the animation, you can go up and start a combo. So both ways it has some utility. Even if you miss it, you still have a chance of actually doing something with the level 1, so it's not kind of like a waste. And I feel like that'd be pretty interesting, because again, you have a chance of doing some good damage, but also if you miss it, there's a chance of stunning the opponent, which would also be good for him, you know, to start a combo afterwards, so it's not a complete waste. And moving on to his level 2, I have it where the animation would start by having concert lights turn on, with Present Mike striking a pose in the center of the lights. The camera would then cut to the opponent, who is now looking around trying to figure out where those lights are even coming from, and then the camera would cut back to Present Mike, who is now grooving to the background music, and the camera would zoom in until you can see his face look up with confidence. Then he would dash toward the opponent and basically start hitting the opponent with different dance moves as he begins to move around them, with the lights moving around in the background. After he lands all of his dance moves, he would then do a spin, and basically the lights would then all focus on him. Then he would yell, which would stun the opponent, basically making them cover their ears because it's shattering their eardrums. And then he would casually walk up to the opponent as they're kind of like recovering from the aftershocks of his scream. And basically, with the light following him, you know, as he's walking up to them very casually, he would do his pose, which would uppercut them, and it would finish the animation. So I think this level 2 would be pretty awesome to see because it's kind of like a rock show. You have like the stage or concert lights moving in the background, him dancing all over the place, grooving to the background music, and basically I just like the idea of him like yelling really loudly that would stun the opponent, and as they're recovering from that yell, he's just casually walking up to them with the stage light following him, and then him doing his classic pose, but it would uppercut the opponent, which would finish the level 2. I feel like that would be a really cool level 2 to see. And another cool thing they could do with this level 2 is maybe play some original soundtracks from the anime. Like, can you imagine it's like random like each time? So like one time you do the level 2, you hear like You Say Run. Another time you may hear like Just Another Hero. One time you may hear like Hero A or something like that. Like just some anime background tracks while he's doing the level 2 would be pretty interesting because, you know, he's grooving to the music. So I think they'd be pretty cool to hear some like, you know, anime soundtracks in the background while he's like grooving to it. And it'd be pretty cool if it was like random and stuff, so like you hear like a different track each time. I think that'd be pretty cool, just an idea. They may not do that though because, you know, obviously it's from the anime and the game has their own original soundtracks and stuff, so you know, they don't use like the anime soundtracks and stuff. But I feel like it'd be pretty cool Easter egg hearing some of the tracks in the background while he's like, you know, grooving in his level 2. But that is my moveset for present Mike. A really interesting character. I really feel like he would have like a lot of different kind of like unique moves with his moveset if they do add him into the game, and I would really like to see him get added into the game. Like, I feel like he'd be a pretty cool addition for like the UA teacher side and stuff. And I know a lot of people want him in the game. Like, I've seen him throughout the community. Like, a lot of people have been like wanting him, and I can understand why. Like, he's a pretty cool character. He's kind of already in the game again with his voice and stuff, but I feel like seeing him in the game actually playable would be pretty cool. And yeah, that is my moveset for present Mike. But if you guys would like to see a specific character in the series, let me know down in the comments below. I'd be happy to try to create a moveset for that character. Also, apologies for missing an upload last week. I was really busy with school. I didn't get the chance to sit down and record or edit a video because I was just super busy with school. So sorry for missing an upload last week. I was just really busy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys did, please like and subscribe. That would be amazing. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.